had some strange stuff happen to me yesterday. I had some strange stuff happen to me this morning. I want to get into it with Dr. Josh Klapow. I got up this morning. I'm 7 on 7 off with my kids, and so my kids came yesterday, which was fantastic. And I got up this morning, and when you don't have anybody around for a week and all of a sudden they're here, it just changes the dynamics of everything. And for the most part, 99% of that is fantastic. So I had dog pee in 3 different places, which is weird because my dogs don't pee in the house. Perhaps I need to get on with Dr. Rab Stewart from Dark Side of the Pooch and discuss that further. We had our show last night at 8 o'clock. There was actually a question from a listener in Nashville, Tennessee about just that. Why are my dogs, all of a sudden, my dogs are potty trained, all of a sudden nothing's changed. Why are my dogs peeing in my house? In this particular case, it was because a fence in this woman's backyard had fallen down, and the dog was used to having a fenced-in yard, and so all of a sudden decided to start peeing in the house. And then I got ants. I got ants all over the place. I got it. Here's Dr. Josh. Look on the right side. I got ants all over the studio. I got ants, dog pee. I just found out that the show open we have is just long enough for me to blow my nose and go pee, and I can get here in just in time. Besides that, everything else is good. We're 9 days away again from Thanksgiving, and next week kids are going to be out, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that, and I hope you got big plans. So yesterday, I get the phone call that every parent dreads. And I thought, man, I just screwed it up for us. Because what did I say during the show yesterday?
Oh, no. COVID-free.
I said, man, we have gotten through this thing.
Oh, no.
I'm hammering on Ben Roethlisberger. I'm hammering on Aaron Rodgers. They'll make dumbasses. 70% of us are vaccinated. How in the world can you get COVID now? How could you even have a breakthrough? We're letting our guard down. We're trying to get back. And I'm like, all right, so I find out that like 5 days ago, that my daughter was at a party, and the person who was having the party got COVID, or she tested positive for it. And I'm like, no.
The child or the
child? Yeah. Okay. The child's mother's a nurse. The son had been the stuff for 5 to 11 or 12-year-olds. It just came out, so she hadn't been vaccinated yet. And so I'm like. So I've had the runny nose, and you start freaking out. You know, you're Jewish, you understand this.
Yeah, why didn't you tell me?
I'm telling you right now.
No, but you said it was 5 days ago.
Yeah, I just found out yesterday.
You just found out yesterday.
They just called me. I just got my kid yesterday. I didn't have my kid.
What did they call her? Did you call your ex?
Yeah.
So they called your ex, but did your ex tell you?
She just found out yesterday.
Oh, she just found out yesterday.
Yeah,
oh, okay,
we all just found out yesterday.
Okay.
Because she had just gotten tested. She wasn't feeling good. She got tested. And so I'm kind of like, I'm thinking, man, Thanksgiving's next week. Mm-hmm. See, it's not so much that you're worried about your kid getting really sick, because kids don't really get sick for the most part. For the most part, we know that kids don't get sick. We know 65,000 kids have died. I know all that stuff. But for the most part, risk.
No, it's
for the most part, if your kid gets,
they're carriers.
Yeah, but exactly. And that's the big thing. Because I told my daughter, we got to go get tested. I said, if you're, she didn't want to. And I said, I'm not worried about you getting really, really sick. I'm worried about you getting sick and then giving it to grandma or giving it to someone in the neighborhood. That's what I'm concerned about. And honestly, shuts everything down.
Yes.
There's 2 brothers can't go to school.
Right.
I can't go to work.
Yeah.
Your mother's working from home, so it doesn't really affect her a whole lot. And I said, you got Thanksgiving next week, and you're going to be off for 2 weeks. I said, and then you got Christmas. I said, So I went and got all the rapid tests. The latest rapid test, which is evidently the same. I talked to my pharmacist. He said this is about as good as the one they do that they send off. He said, PCR, I don't know why they do that. So he said, you're good. So if that test. So we tested, and we were all good. I was first time, you pray a lot. But I was like, I'm meaning this prayer. I was like, come on now. I said, come on now. Let's not, because that's the biggest pain in the butt in all this. That's the inconvenience. The inconvenient part of it is kind of like, yes, it's the right thing to do so you don't give it to someone else. I get that. But the inconvenience value that is associated with someone in your family getting COVID at this point sucks.
Well, it's interesting, too, because so this is what I love. What do you call this? We're doing this without a net. Since we're doing this without a net, and I am Jewish and a public health guy. So in summary, Lila was exposed 4 to 5 days ago.
Yeah.
The girl tested positive when?
She tested positive, I don't know, Thursday, Friday, something like that.
Okay, so she tested positive Thursday, Friday. Today is Tuesday.
So we're
and
good.
As of yesterday, Lila was
negative. We're all negative.
Yeah,
So I was kind of like,
that's
okay,
good.
And they've been together the entire time.
Yep.
So
and both your boys are vaccinated.
So I figured I got a 1 in 3 shot here because I know that it takes a little while for the incubation period.
No, that's what I was going to say.
But I'm thinking if she had it, if she got it,
she'd probably
certainly one of my 2 boys who are both vaccinated, someone out of the 3 would have probably tested positive.
Well, yeah, and your daughter would be most likely,
exactly,
right? And you guys are positive.
And she's been, she's got allergies, and my allergies right now are
they're horrible because of all the stuff that's falling off the trees.
I guess. It's just dried out. I'm just dried out. But
it's interesting. One of the things that I think is so fascinating to watch us, and we do this not just with COVID, we do this with everything. When there's a big inconvenience factor, like this is, this is big inconvenience. And it has parallels to when somebody gets sick in the family.
Yeah.
It's got parallels because you're going to go travel for Thanksgiving. Somebody gets sick, and you kind of do, before COVID, my kid's got a fever. Yeah. They'll be okay. And then there's family like, okay, maybe it's not okay. But one of the things that we do is when there's an inconvenience factor, we do these things in our head about, it's rationalization. There's a lot we got to, there's the inconvenience factor. Oh, they're probably not sick. If they're sick, they probably won't infect anyone. If they probably won't infect anyone, we should be okay. Yep. This reminds me so much. And I understand why parents did it, but it used to piss me off more than anything else. My wife and I worked, and our kids were in daycare. Mm-hmm. And there was one simple rule at daycare. Your kid can be snotty. Your kid's going to be snotty and green and coughing and all this stuff. If they're vomiting, diarrhea, or if they have a fever. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, no.
And I cannot tell you, this, how many parents would load their kids up on Motrin because it lasts 8 hours.
Sure.
Oh, my kid's fine. And then depending on when they picked them up, your child's running a fever. Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me. Yeah. Look, I understand. I do understand. I was in a position where if my kid was sick, but you know what? Give me an effing break. Yeah. Like this plays into, we do this on so many different things. This is things have been real crazy here. I can't get back to you. Yeah. There is I'm sorry, I'd love to, but, and we do this. It's okay with that, I think. But when we're doing this about things that could get other people sick, again, forget COVID.
Yeah.
Forget COVID. Suck it up. Well, we're supposed to be good to one another, particularly around family time and holiday time. I'm going to be doing something on Fox.
The difference here too is and I'll use a couple examples. There's not a parent that has not sent their kid to school when they probably shouldn't have. You included.
Absolutely.
Let's not be hypocritical.
No,
we've all done it.
Fever,
you're fine.
I have never done it with a fever. I've never done a fever, but there have definitely been times where I'm like, and you know what? You know what karma to get me? Yeah. When I do that, 9 out of 10 times I get a phone call sometime in that afternoing. Yeah. But you're right. No, you're right.
Every parent has sent their kid to school.
Just sort of dicey.
Because it's up to the kid, really. If the kid is like, if you had a kid that goes to school religiously and the kid's just like, something's just not right. But if can you make it? Are you good? I'm good. I'm like, okay, well, if you feel like you got it, you're good. Then, because if you're 6 or 7 year old says I can fight through, then you're like, okay, then let's do this. And I got a busy ass day at work, something I can't, da. The difference here is obviously it's much more severe. It reminds me a lot of when my dad had cancer. I had a cold, and or allergies or something, and the nurse specifically said to me, because she saw me blow my nose, listen, you can't go in to see your dad if you have a cold, or you're going to have to stay on the other side of the room. And so I did that, and it was allergies. A couple of days later, I was great. But the inconvenience here is this 10-day thing.
Yes.
That is the booger bear, because if your kid is sick, normally in about 2 or 3 days. Yep. If they're sick on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they're back at school at Thursday. Now it's like lockdown, regardless of how they feel, what they look like, what their nose is doing for like 10 days, and that's a long time.
It is.
And it's in 10 days it is what it is. I mean, you got to do the right thing. That's what we're being told from the CDC. That's the period. Yeah. But 10 days is a hell of a long time, man. To be locked down. We did it for a long period of time. But
I watched an interview last night.
Thank the Lord, though. It came back negative, and I was good.
I've been there. Man, does it remind you of pregnancy tests?
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly.
Oh, man, I was like, please, line, do not show up. And I knew it was going to come back because we've been super blessed. We've been very good.
Well, but you've been. I'm going to just say this. This is not. I mean, I know you're a man of faith, great faith. You have not been. This hasn't happened by luck.
I know.
And by blessings of God.
Yeah.
You have worked your ass off to keep you safe, your family safe, to take into account probably my extreme views about what safety are.
Yeah.
And as a result, as my wife says, it's hard, but it's not complicated.
Yeah.
And that's that's the thing. I watched an interview last night with a couple of non-CDC, these were just sort of infectious disease docs, who they were asking, okay, people are confused now. Okay, we got our vaccinations and we've got our boosters. Can we take the mask off now?
Yeah.
And one of the things that one of these physicians said is, at least at this point, forget the mask. He's like, COVID's not going away. Like what we're seeing right now, it may sort of die down.
Huh?
It's like, but this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So he was like, I don't know what to say. Get used to this. This will be our normal. There will be infections. There will be outbreaks. There will be people having to stay home. There will be, and I think, for all of us, we don't want that to happen. And I think there's the difference between the people who don't want that to happen and it's kind of this, la, 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 it's not happening.
Sure.
Versus, okay, this is happening. How do we live within it?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And I see this, Tony, and a lot of the people that I work with individually, not so much the COVID thing, but they're like, how am I going to ever get back to normal? When will it be normal? What will be, and I have to tell them, and I tell them pretty straight out, it won't be the same ever because of the changes that have happened.
Yep.
You cannot grasp onto, I'm just waiting until it goes back. Mm-hmm. And this is, adapt or perish, but this is adapt.
Tonight at 8:00.
Yeah, that's right. But it is. And listen, this is relationships. This is, I want it to be back the way that it was. This is after infidelity. Mm-hmm. This is when your kids, I wish it was. I wish they would just be that the way that. What happened yesterday, you will never get back. And particularly right now, we will never be the same as we were. We'll just be different. And it's your choice as to how you navigate different. Mm-hmm. And if you sort of stomp your feet and I'm just going to do it, then as a result, A, you're stuck in time. B, again, using something like COVID, you're just going to keep putting your business at risk, you at risk, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again.
It's going to, eventually it'll come get you. I remember going to my doctor, Dr. James Sullivan, 2 years ago.
Yeah, by the way, we're in 2 years.
And he was like, that's when he gave me the hydrochloroquine thing and said, here, take this, you're going to need it, and blasted. He's like, you're going to get it. And I said, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, I'm going to get it. You're going to get it. It's going to happen. Blah, blah, blah. And thank goodness, again, knock on wood, we haven't got it yet. And so there's, it's just one of those. I'm trying to analogize what it's like getting.
But it's not. And that's why you can't.
Yeah.
Because it is, this is so interesting. It is not like, and I've seen this a lot. Well, what is this like? How can we as humans, we have a really hard time.
Maybe it's like getting a letter from the IRS. When you've been kind of doing your taxes and you do it, but
you get pummeled. Not pummeled, like a big letter. Not like you owe $500, like you owe 50,000.
And you've been living pretty good for like 5-10 years.
Yep.
And you're like skirting by because we all do our taxes differently.
By the way, 150,000.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's like you get that letter from the Internal Revenue, and you're like, because whenever you're doing something, or like cheating, when you're cheating for a long period of time, and you're getting away with it, and nothing's changed, and you're just living your life, and it becomes commonplace that you're going to go meet her every Friday night at the hotel room, blah blah blah, and then eventually the wife comes in, and she goes, "We need to have a talk."
Yep.
And that's when it's like, That's what COVID is. That's what COVID
but
feels
imagine,
like.
To me, it makes it more interesting. Let's use the cheating one because I love the cheating one.
Yeah.
So that's you having a conversation, your wife or your husband is like, hey, and the bomb drops, the shoe falls off, boom. But imagine if somehow, because you knew 17 other people, not that you assumed this was happening.
Yep.
You knew 17 other people who this also happened to. Go even broader. 20,000 people in your state, you knew, maybe you didn't know them personally, but there was something that came up on Fox. Sorry. Today, 20,000 people were called out by their spouses for cheating. Like that. When you're called out, like you have to go stay in a hotel. 20,000 people are staying in hotels today because they've all been called out cheating.
What do you think? Do you think it's it's Fatal Attraction, right? It's like the Fatal Attraction movie when it came out.
Yes.
Like everyone stopped cheating.
Right. Fatal Attraction was like Outbreak. Fatal Attraction was like the movie Outbreak. It was like Ebola for cheating.
You were like, oh, I could see this happening in my life. There was a huge downtick in cheating.
Infidelity. Because it scared the
scared the hell out of everybody. Yeah. So, do you think it's like, I know Aaron Rodgers got hammered. He came back and won his game 17 zip last week. Ben Roethlisberger, who was vaccinated, you get a pass.
If you're vaccinated, you get a pass.
Should you?
Oh, yeah.
Why? See, the way I look at it
no, you're right. You're right. I shouldn't have said that.
Was it more understandable to get COVID a year and a half ago or to get COVID now? Because now I'm kind of like, wait a minute. Because I almost look at you as a bigger dumbass now if you get COVID than if you did before.
I think now. So a year and a half ago,
we give you a pass if you get COVID now, but it doesn't mean that you're doing the right thing.
That's exactly. So I think in both situations, a year and a half ago, if you got COVID, the first thing as someone like me is like, well, what are you? What were you doing? Who are you with? Right?
We didn't really care how you got it. We just wanted to know who the hell you were.
Well, we knew with that, and we wanted to know at least
because it was so widespread. Everyone was getting it.
But for me personally, I didn't give you a pass if you were being a dumbass and going to concerts and going to shows and going out to dinner. Now, if you were doing everything you were supposed to do, you were shutting down, you were wearing masks, but somehow you did get exposed, then I would be okay. It'll be okay. So now it's interesting because the breakthrough cases, you still have to kind of ask the same question. Were you out and about with a bunch of people who were unvaccinated? Because the CDC and others are saying it's very clear.
Well, if you're going to a concert or something you don't know.
Right. And so everybody is saying this. The science is saying this. If you're vaccinated, double vaccinated, or if you have a booster, your chances, particularly in an outside venue, of getting it are really small. But you can, and this is why a lot of this was the breakthrough, because we got all these kids. So, like Ben Roethlisberger, all I want to know, just personally, you don't have to tell me, but all I want to know, what were you doing?
Yeah.
What were you doing? Now, were there people in your, on your team who are not vaccinated or on the other team, because again, we talked about with sports, unless everyone's vaccinated, if you're the quarterback and you get sacked by somebody who's not vaccinated, they are spitting COVID into your mouth.
Well, there's a 94% rate in the National Football League right now. So 94%.
So it is an interesting question. Like, what were you doing, Ben? Yeah. Or did you just get, because there are a small amount who get unlucky. Does he have kids? Is he married? No, he's not married.
I have no idea.
I don't think he's married.
The other thing is, I think it's really interesting is we know that if you do end up getting COVID after you're vaccinated, there's a good chance you're not going to be hospitalized or die.
Exactly, which is great.
Which is great.
By the way,
the other thing is and again, I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody.
Oh, I will.
And we've all been going through, well, you can't because of the CDC, and you believe in the CDC. But you go through these situations where it is real time. We're live streaming. We're live streaming this thing, and it's changing every single day.
Sure.
Fauci's changed his mind a million times, and I understand. I get it because based on his expertise and his scientific knowledge,
the data.
And do you remember 6 months ago, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask anymore.
Right.
They said you don't have to wear a mask anymore again,
yes.
the caveat was unless you're around a bunch of unvaccinated. Well, who the hell knows? If you're in a bar, you don't know. If
Well,
you're
that's
in a
why they were
restaurant,
saying
no one wears a mask in a restaurant.
Indoor places. But then what happened?
It's a great opportunity that if you go to any restaurant, that 50% of the people, at least down here in the South, aren't vaccinated.
Well, because we don't have the vaccination.
Exactly, and they're sitting there without a mask on. So if you're going to go to a restaurant, that was the restaurant thing to me. I did the whole drive-through thing.
Yeah,
the restaurant thing to me is the excuse because and listen, I want restaurants to be open. And God, they've just gotten hammered. So I mean, I want you to go out and eat, and I go to local places as much as I possibly can.
Me too.
But if you go into a restaurant, you don't have to wear your mask. You're not wearing your mask from the car to the restaurant because there's no reason to. You're in the waiting area, and maybe there's some people sitting around. They're getting people seated, and you're going to sit down, and I guess you can wear your mask to the table, but once you start eating, you're not going to keep putting it up and down. It's like eating potato chips on an airplane, right? So that's the one place where we feel comfortable enough to do that because we have to eat.
Well, and we can do it here. And I feel bad for the servers. I feel for people that are running the restaurants. They all got masks on.
Oh, man. And the ones that are willing to serve right now, I feel really bad for them because there are people in restaurants that don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're getting thrown into the mix because there's no one to work.
Well, and they're getting potentially exposed to COVID. And this is why, hey, look, we don't want to do this in this state. But me, logically, I understand politically, but logically, the whole idea of a vaccination report card.
Yeah.
By the way, when I was in L.A., it literally, the time I was in LA, it was going into effect. It was going into effect.
Yeah.
Where you have to show your vaccination card to come into a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
But like everything else that they do, the rollout period was, it starts today, whatever day I was there, but we're not enforcing it for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Which I always think is like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But
gives you time.
Yeah, but we don't like these things, and we don't like the inconvenience and the freedoms and taking away. And I get it, but if I'm just thinking purely logically, like just if we don't want people in a restaurant to expose each other to COVID, and we don't want the restaurants to be exposed to COVID, and we're supposed to get vaccinations, then it's not crazy to say, okay, let's just show us your card and you come in.
Yeah.
That's I'm not saying it's a solution.
I went down to the basketball game down at UAB. I had a great time, and thanks to Brad Hardikoff and Mark Ingram and stuff. And there's a big sign that says, because it's UAB, you must wear a mask.
Yeah.
To go in.
Well, and at UAB, they ain't. Nobody.
Nobody. No, there were plenty of people walking in. Some people are like, they would walk up. I forgot my mask. Do I need to wear? They're like, come on.
Yeah.
But with the vaccination rate, at least we have.
Yeah.
Nationwide at 70% finally. We were supposed to have that in June, by the way.
Do you see where they're having outbreaks, though?
Yeah, in the Midwest. Yeah. It's not, I mean, obviously, outbreaks now aren't the outbreaks we had a year and a half ago.
No, they're Delta.
But it's still, 80,000 people a day.
See, I think it's super interesting that, like, Colorado and the other places, they're like, I just think if I lived in Colorado, up until the last whatever month, we'd be like, we're good.
I do not want to hear the word variant again.
Yeah. I know.
Let's stop with the Delta variant. There was one other variant.
There's another one?
Well, there was about 3 months ago.
Did we get rid of it?
But yeah.
We shoot
it just, we didn't hear about it. There's the Omega or something.
Oh,
I don't know what
yes.
it was. We heard about that, and we're like, and it was small, and it's gone. We haven't heard anything about it. So, like, I do not want to hear the word variant again. If there's another variant.
That's right. That's also a great name.
But it worked out good, and you're here. I was prepared. I was sitting there going 15 minutes. It's going back and forth to the kitchen table. Looking, coming back, and I knew if that line was even faint, we were screwed. And so I was preparing myself. We do live shows, new shows every night of the week. Last night we had Dark Side of the Pooch at 8 o'clock, great listenership. Tonight, Adapter Parish with Dr. Alex Hubline and yourself, Dr. Josh Klapow. You host the show. Live Wire Wednesday on Wednesday. Thursday night, Austin Hanks, Blues Almighty. He's got a killer show. We're doing at 8 o'clock on Thursday, and then the Damon Johnson show, which I'll record tomorrow. And so I'm like, okay, we got Thanksgiving next Thursday. When are we going to record, guys? How are we going to put this together? And I'm thinking, man, if this thing hits, it's just shut down. And what I'm doing is I'm going to be sitting down here because I can work down here. I'll be sitting down here 24 hours a day doing radio for 10 days.
But
it worked out okay. Thank the Lord.
We'll move around. We'll move on. But like, this is, again, to me, this is a great life lesson. It's a great psychological test of our resiliency.
Yep.
And again, not to plug Adapt or Perish, but this is it. No, but this is it. This is Adapt or Perish. Like, and we talked about this yesterday. You know, what are the major immediate excuses in business to get you out of anything?
Yep.
God forbid somebody's terribly ill, right? Or an accident or whatever. And that one we don't even want to think about. But the number one thing is, I got the call from school, got to go. There's, and people on a call may have personal beliefs, and I know that's, but 95% of the people will be like, oh, he can't be on the call today. His kid's sick.
Yep.
95% of people are like, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And what we have a hard time with this is, and I think part of it is, actually, I know what it is. It's two things. One, it's happening frequently. Somebody's sick. Somebody got exposed. Mm-hmm. We got to shut it all down. Yep. Two, it's happening to so many people that instead of saying like we're all in the same boat, it's almost as if we're taking on, oh my God, I know we had to shut it down and my neighbor had to shut it down. And, but it's like we could almost flip it and go, hey, look, this is where we are. This is what, but we don't do that. We're not fighting physically, but like we're fighting psychologically, when really what we could say is, okay, you said exposure, shut it down, do your show. This is what we do.
Yeah. We got to figure it out, and the good thing is we could do stuff remotely here, so we could still end up doing our thing. But it's really interesting too, because I want to know. This is the Kurre and Klapow show, by the way, on Tony Kurre Radio, the Tony Kurre.
Oh,
Radio
by the way,
app.
look, I'm just going to tell you, your favorite commercial's on. I'm just going to tell you, it's not Peloton. Now it's the mirror for Tony Kurre.
Yeah, the Peloton thing is going through the floor. They dropped like $600.
I told you.
It pisses me off, because if I spent $18.99 on a Peloton, now I can get it for $12.99. I'm like, what the hell? Why did I spend $18.99?
You would like the mirror more as a single guy. No. Do you understand how the mirror works? It's not you.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's you and...
Oh, and it's sponsored by Lululemon, too.
Yeah, and you get to pick who's on the other side. Do you understand that, Tony?
Yes. And it's really difficult to hang laundry from it, because it hangs from the wall. You can't hang your clothes from it like a
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I love to see how people react to close calls.
Yeah.
You're drunk. You get pulled over. It's happened to a lot of you out there. Don't lie. You get pulled over, and you should go to jail.
Right.
And the cop's like, where you live? I live down the road. Blah, 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 blah. They don't do the breathalyzer. Get out of here. And you're like, whew.
Yep.
Your mistress is texting you on the phone.
Right.
And your wife picks up the phone. Who is that? Blah, 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 blah. It's someone from work. And you're like, whew.
And it's that, it's this feeling.
Yeah.
It's this feeling. It's the...
You have that time where maybe you're driving a little too fast on a wet road. I had it happen, and I'll never forget it driving through Tennessee. It was not my fault, but I should have died. I don't know. I don't know if there was an angel. There was someone standing in the middle of the interstate. There was one headlight on. The other one was broken, and I don't know how I missed the guy. There was a car in my right lane. It just disappeared. Yeah. And I was driving about 90 miles an hour because I was trying to get home. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, pouring down rain. It's close calls. So how do you react to those close calls? Are you like, okay, that was a signal. That was a moment.
Do. Yeah, we usually do.
That was a moment.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, that's going to fatal attraction. Close calls. You're like, okay, that was a close call for a lot of people, because like, hey, dude, this could happen. You're like, okay, that's, you know what? I'm not doing this. And normally our human nature is we back off.
Absolutely.
And then we ramp back up where we
were.
That's what we do.
That's what
we do.
Unless we're getting, it's all the frequency. I love this shit. This is because what happens is we have this with natural disasters. It's the same thing.
Oh yeah.
It's a whoosh, that tornado. Oh God. And so for some period of time, we go get our emergency kits. Somebody, all the storm shelter people are buying them. You get in the helmets.
Yep.
And then it doesn't happen for a while. It could be, particularly like with tornadoes where we live, it could be a couple years before something close. And so you back off. You back off. But imagine if every so often, and you couldn't predict it, because this is called intermittent variable ratio reinforcement schedule. So imagine See, I'll tell you in a minute, it's opposite of slot machines. But imagine if these things happened fairly frequently, not on schedule, but like, within every weeks or months, you got the close call on the road.
Yeah.
Your mistress is texting you, but you would be you'd be in this perpetual state of checking it back, which means over time, you would probably just adapt to checking it back because you'd have no opportunity to drift back to your old ways.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff that scares the bejesus out of us, it either scares us so much. These are the life-changing, I almost died and I changed.
I'm never doing that again, yeah.
That's exactly. But most of us, it scares us just enough that we back off and the event doesn't happen again soon enough.
Yeah.
And so we've already inched our way back. And that's the piece. This is slot machines in the reverse.
Yeah.
This is slot machines in the reverse. Oh, I win. Instead of backing off, I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it. I'll just go back to I won again. I'm going to keep doing it. This is how we adapt. And you know what? We're such creatures of habit that if we don't really use our brains, the evolved part of our brains, we're like this lizard brain monkey shit. We will just revert back to give me food, let me do what I want to do, and give me sex. Yep. Like that's what we want to do, unless we're constantly trying to override our instincts.
Yeah, and that's what this inconvenience.
Yes,
and also inconvenience to COVID is.
Yeah,
because it set me straight. I got comfortable again. Do we need our mask? I went and bought another box. They didn't even have them at Publix. They don't have a mask up there. I'm like, where's the mask? We're out of mask. I'm like, okay. So I went and got a box of masks. I needed them for school.
Yeah.
And I told my daughter, I said, are you wearing your mask at school? And she said, yeah, we don't have to anymore, but I still do. And I said,
I'm so
okay,
proud
well,
of
this
her.
is our scary moment here. This is our checking it right?
Yep.
She's like, yep. And I said, man, if you had tested positive, it would have affected all of us. And I said, I know you don't want to do that, and you want to go see your grandma for the holidays and blah, 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 blah. I said, that ain't going to happen. I said, so put your mask back on. And so they're the first ones. My kids are so resilient. Kids get this.
I've watched the bus. I've watched the kids get off the bus.
The adults are idiots. You don't need your mask.
Yeah.
And they're putting their, I mean, they're so good. They put their mask on.
I've watched in the carpool line as I've driven by. They're kindergartners. They're kindergartners. I was someplace else.
They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care. Leave your kids alone.
Well, the good news is, listen, and we'll pivot, but the good news is, and I know that this is controversial, and it's controversial in a different way. I get it. But now they've approved the 5 to 12, and so, younger kids can get vaccinated. And, it's really interesting to me, and people hammer on a lot of the infectious disease physicians, but a lot of them are posting on social media.
Yep.
I don't know what to make of this. I like it, but pictures of their kids, of these infectious disease docs, pictures of their kids getting vaccinated. Yep. Basically to say, look, I'm a doc, and here's my kid getting stuck with a needle. Before they were participating in the trials, but one of the things, if you talk to infectious disease docs whose kids, or anybody whose all their kids have been vaccinated, they will tell you the same thing. Whew. That's what it's because now I don't have to feel, and you were in this situation, you're in this situation still, which is, and I think to me that's the hardest thing in a family is you got your age range is such that 2 of your kids are and 1 is not. You're kind of waiting, you're oh Jesus, you're the one. No,
and I think that's why a lot of parents are vaccinated, but they're choosing not to have their children vaccinated for a couple reasons. First of all, we do have a 70% vaccination rate across the country, not down here in the South. And so we're like, okay, there's that herd immunity. There's a good chance. Has your child had it before?
Yep.
And if they haven't, you're like, okay, they haven't gotten it to this point. So we could wait it out.
I know.
Because, listen, you don't want to put anything into your body. You don't have to put into your body.
Well, yeah.
You don't. I mean, if
Right.
There's no reason to get a vaccination if you don't believe you're going to need it.
Well, we
need it. So,
yes.
so that's what you do. So, but there's that. So I've talked to a lot of parents who are vaccinated.
Yep.
They got the first people to get vaccinated, but
And
they have children. They're like, we're going to kind of wait on this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my ex and I are kind of going back and forth on this right now. I'm like, let's do it. And so after last night, I'm like, listen,
yep.
I want you to think this over. And I value what my ex says. We have to do things as a unit.
This is super hard.
And I'm like, and she's like, we need to figure this out. Because I said, I don't want to put the entire family because it'll affect all of us. And so that was our close call. That was my, okay. But I remember how good I felt after I got vaccinated to know that,
yes, we celebrated. Julie cried.
Yeah, it was great.
Does your... You don't have to share this if you don't want to.
That's fine.
We know her name. Does Lila ever feel, she knows that everyone's vaccinated. Mm-hmm. Does she express anything about, is she dialed into the fact that she's the only one that's not vaccinated? And do you think she understands that she's the one that could get sick or get other people sick? Does she think about that or no?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she understands that. She also understands that all of us, despite the fact we're vaccinated, could get breakthroughs. And so she understands that. Now, she's 9 years old. Like every 9-year-old, she hates shots.
Oh, sure.
She didn't even want to. I let her swab herself.
Yeah, I believe
last
me.
night.
I got
she's like freaking out about sticking the swab.
Totally
up her.
get
And I said,
that.
well, in China, they stick it up their butt. So be happy you're living in America.
Good.
Right?
I should have used that with my kids.
And it's like, as long as I can't see any of the cotton, you're good. And she stuck it up there, and she went further than she had to because it was her nose, and she was sneezing and tickled, blah blah blah. But yeah, so she doesn't want to get the shot, and we don't bring it up. She doesn't want to hear about vaccination stuff because she doesn't want the shot. And I'm sure she's going to cry, and it's going to be difficult. But to know, and then she'll be happy, like every kid is after they get a shot. They're like, let's go get ice cream, and I'm so happy. They're always like that. Every kid is like that. No kid goes, that sucked. I don't ever do that to me again. As soon as they get the shot, they realize it's no big deal. They're so happy because they've accomplished something that scared the hell out of them. They faced their fear and they got there. And every time you do it, it gets better.
Not my kids.
I remember my special needs boy, Xavier, go down to Children's Hospital. We've been going down there ever since he was 2 years old, and we still go down there every couple of months. And the worst 2 words
I know.
You could hear as a parent are,
we're going to need to
blood work.
Oh, blood work, yeah. yeah.
I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I know.
And you got to do it once a year because you got to see how his meds are adjusting to this thing. You can't you just take his blood pressure and finger prick or something? No, we need 4 vials of blood to do testing. So every year we have to do blood work. And the first time we did blood work, he was probably about 5, and it was the worst day of my life.
Yes.
They took him scared. Look, it was like walking the dog off to be put down.
Yeah, I know.
You're sitting there crying your ass off. He's struggling, and my kid had special needs, and so he's scared. And I'm like, and you can hear him in there screaming. And I had my fingers over my ears, and I was just like, and I couldn't even listen to it. And I knew he was going to be fine. I knew he was in good care, but it scared the hell out of him. I thought, man, he's going to hate me because I let him go with these terrible people.
He's gonna hate me, right?
Oh, my gosh. It's horrible. Every parent's been through it. It's terrible. If you ever got a kid that goes into surgery or whatever, it's horrible.
The surgery,
Robbie Glenn, my good friend who does Striker Strong, his son.
He is.
I mean, that kid has been through so much, and I can't imagine as a parent every time he's got to go in for some type of dialysis or whatever it is. Anyway, So, the first time we go in, I'm like, is there any type of sedative or anything you can give him?
That's right.
Because my kid's got really high tolerance. I don't think my kid has ever said he hurts. Like, he said his head hurts once in a while, but he's just a fighter. He's just got a high tolerance. He cracked his head open when he was younger, had to get 17 stitches across his forehead, and they were shooting him with all kinds of things, and it didn't phase him. So he goes in, and, we did the whole... Do you have clock? He loved clocks, and we went through it. And like everything, including shots, the more you do it, the easier it gets because they realize it's no big deal. And so we went into his doctor a couple of days ago, and she's like, blood work. You didn't have blood work. You got 30 days. And I'm like, okay. And it's only good for 30 days. When they put the blood work in, you just show up.
Yeah, right.
And you got 30 days. And he was like, cool. And I'm telling Lila, I'm like, listen, you think
Right.
That hurts. He's got something in his arm for like
don't tell her that. Because
I want her to know because I'm like, he's got a shot in his arm for 6 minutes.
No, don't tell her that because she's going to have blood work at some point.
Someday, maybe.
Well, no,
maybe not.
Well, maybe as an adult.
Yeah, maybe. But I'm like, your mom, she's pregnant with you. I had to give her a shot in the belly every day, which I really enjoyed, by the way. There were some moments when my wife was like just absolutely out of her brain. And I'm like, let's give you a shot. Boom. Just waiting for it to just fly through the room because you're putting a shot right in the belly. It's like it was the most bizarre thing because it's so tight.
I couldn't even do that with my dog.
You're just waiting. And
I couldn't even give my dog.
You swear the air's going to come out. She's going to fly across the room. But now he's like totally cool with it. Does he enjoy it? No.
Does
he? But he
let me
knows
tell
it's
you,
going to be done.
he's got some maturity for he's 14.
Yeah.
Well, or I can flip it. My kids know this. My kids were and I've told this story before. We're both psychologists.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to like know all the tricks.
Yeah.
Hypnotize your kids when you
do it.
Yeah. My kids were, one of my kids was when it would become psychotic and the other one would faint.
Yeah.
And it would be, oh God, here come the Klapow kids. Here come the Klapow kids. So the fainter, it was fine, except a couple times he hit his head. They would, with my...
literally faint?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And to the point of, we're going to need to do a vaccination, he's down. Yeah. Like, he didn't even have to, first it was he had to see, it's conditioning. Yeah. This is all conditioning. So first you have to see the needle, and then, when it first happened, you see the needle, he's scared, and he would pass out. Then it was... and he'd cry and he'd pass out. Then it was he'd see the needle coming, and then he'd pass out. Then it was literally, we're going to do a vaccination. Boom, he's down. So at least with him, we're like, okay, you know what's going to happen? Yeah, we know what's going to happen. Okay, you're going to have, and there was someone there to catch him. My other one, it was like Exorcist. I mean, it was, and she was this big. Yeah. And I don't know if they have, you ever seen you go to the pediatrician? I don't know why we're talking about, they have, God, remember this. They have diagrams on the wall of how you're supposed to restrain your children. Have you ever seen?
I have not seen
Okay. So there's, I thought it was the funniest thing till I had to do it. They have a diagram that shows how you as the parent should restrain your child.
While they're getting a shot or just restrain them?
If you need to restrain them. And it's basically their head is turned and you're holding your arm across their head so that you're not. Yeah. But the first time I went in, I'm like, oh, that's dumb. Well, so then my child goes psychotic, and I'm like, I'm looking at the diagram. Okay, left hand around, right hand around, but it went on, Tony, for years. And you know when it stopped? Like really stopped? This is terrible, and you can see I'm not mentioning which kid or whatever. But when my oldest had to drive himself there and get blood work or whatever, I was like, you're driving your ass to the pediatrician. You better figure out how to take a shot. Because we're not going to be there, and it ain't about the lollipop anymore. So suck it up, Buttercup. And then my younger one saw her older, and so when she had to do her first and drive herself, she's like, I just want to tell you, I came in and I didn't know, and I had to have a vaccination, and I didn't scream. I cried a little bit, but I'm fine. I'm on my way home. This is 16
Great.
And 18.
Yeah.
They're fine now.
Yeah.
They're fine now.
I
would much rather have blood drawn than I don't mind any of it really.
Yeah.
But I would much rather have blood drawn than vaccination, because if they do the blood drawn in a good way, it doesn't really hurt going in, and it doesn't hurt as you're doing there. Whereas with vaccination, what I don't like about it is depending, like a good vaccination. You ever have a good vaccination?
Oh, I have.
And you go, God,
I didn't feel it. Yeah.
You tell them how great they were.
Oh yeah. See, now my mom, we're a blood giving family.
Oh,
and I've got a rare blood type.
Do you? What are you?
So, I forget which
whatever
one
it is.
Whatever it is, it's like second rarest blood type.
Look at you.
And
that
so
explains a lot. Of
I
things.
used to give blood every 6 weeks when I was living at home, and my mom did too. Now my mom, I got really good veins.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And my mom had really bad veins.
My mom too.
And every time my mom gave blood, and the bloodmobile would come through the church, and she'd go down there, and I'm like, it was a Sunday morning, it was after Mass, she hadn't eaten, and I'm like, Mom, eating crackers, this, that, and the other, and she would always pass out. And they couldn't find, and I remember taking the needle and moving it around in her arm, trying to find the vein, and I'm going, okay, and she'd always pass out. I'm like, stop giving blood. And she'd get a huge bruise on her arm. I'm like, stop doing that. People no, they don't. You're 62 years old. Stop giving blood. They don't need it that bad. And I think they just stopped taking. Jane, you're not coming in today. We're tired of her because she had a black eye and a big bump on her head. And her ass was hanging out of her pants, and she's got this big bruise. I'm like, what are you doing? They beating the shit out of you in there or something? And then I'm like, I was supposed to go in. And they're like, Mr. Kerr, I don't even need the rubber too.
No, I don't either.
I got them.
Do you like when they tell you got good veins? I love that. I do too. They're like,
there is nothing hotter than when a woman. I used to date this girl. It was the one I saw at the funeral a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
She used to play with my veins on my hands.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Oh, she used to sit there, and we'd be sitting there, and she'd be holding my hand, and she'd be pushing my veins down, and she'd run her fingers up and down my veins, and I got some killer veins in my feet, on the top of my foot.
Really?
Oh no, it's like veins are good, dude.
When I know veins are good. Veins and arms are good.
Yeah. You got your vein in your head. It pops out when you get excited.
Yeah,
and stuff.
I know.
Veins in men. First of all, that means you must be thin enough you can see your veins, because fat people don't have veins.
Well, no, they do. They have varicose veins.
They have the one spot. Well, you know what those veins are? Those veins are like, get me the hell out of here. Please get me to the outside of this body, because I can't find anywhere to circulate anything through all the fat and cholesterol. Please let me get you. Hey, let's go to the top of the skin. Sounds good. Let's go to the top of the skin. So all the veins just go to the top of the skin. Yeah.
They're crying for help.
Yeah, it looks like you got spider webs up and down your legs because your ass is fat.
Well, now, here's
that's
the other
true.
thing. That also happens when you have babies. So don't ever say that to a woman, because you can get that when you have babies. But yes,
I'm trying to think if I like women with veins.
Depends where they are.
I've dated a couple women that had veins like on their chest, and I got to tell you, I think it kind of veins are blood.
It's blood.
Blood is life, and unless they've got some big purple thing going through their forehead, veins are kind of hot. Like you see veins on breasts a lot.
Well, not on breasts. You see them.
No, I see. Not
on the
fake breasts. You do.
No. You don't see the. It's. Yeah, well, not the breast itself, but you see it on the pectoral muscle.
Yeah,
because the breast itself.
The pectoral vein on the breast is like I'm kind of like.
I know.
And women don't like that. I'm like, no, that's a good thing.
No, I know.
Like they want the perfect.
What about a woman with a big old vein coming up the bicep that looks manly? She doesn't look manly.
I don't like women with big biceps.
No, not big biceps. Not big, but Venus. Because they work out, they're in great shape. Because some of the vein stuff is definitely genetic, right?
Yeah.
Just the way
genetic veins are good. Workout veins. Obviously she works out. She's going to look pretty good, so I can get past that.
That was our big thing, man. When we were kids, we were teenagers, first started working out amongst my buddies. Who's going to get the first vein to pop?
Yeah. When I went to when I broke my back and my neck 10 years ago, whenever it was, and I had to go in through all these tests and toxicology and trying to figure out what happened. And I had some depletion, bag around my heart, something. And I got out of bed too quick and just fell.
All right, you're not going to the gym. I thought you were going to go to the gym. Maybe you shouldn't.
No, and so, but there was this nurse. Her name is Yvette, I think, or something. Anyway, and it was at Brookwood, which no one's got a good story about Brookwood. I'm sure there's some great doctors down there, so I'm not going to. But she's like, "Hey, Julie, come here." And I'm sitting there, and I'm in my gown, and
the gown.
Come here, you got to see this. And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "You got to see what?" And she's like, "This guy's got the best veins I've ever seen. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've never seen veins like this." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, look at that is awesome." And I don't even know what they were looking at. It was like, because I thought it was somewhere in my neck or something. I'm like, "What are you guys all looking at?" Yeah, it made me feel good.
It validates you.
And then they kicked me out after 4 or 5 days. And I had
that's a really interesting. That's a really interesting thing that we as men find. Well, the thing is, as men, it's interesting because it's socially okay. If you were a male physician or male nurse, you would not go to a woman. Oh my God, look at your arms. Well, no, you would. No, take it back. Let me think about that. I was going to say it would be like harassment, but no.
The only time you can say you have great veins is when you're giving blood.
Yeah.
You got great veins. You have awesome veins.
And if you're a plastic surgeon,
I don't even need the bicycle
I don't either.
thing.
I don't
Because
either.
it's just like they don't.
Yeah,
they
I'm
don't
like,
need
just
that.
come on, put it right in.
Yeah, and yeah.
Well, thank God we're not like heroin addicts or anything.
Well, yeah. True.
Plastic surgeons are different though. With plastic surgeons, cosmetic surgeons, then
I think a lot of women dig Damon Johnson. We could talk to him about this.
What, his veins?
Great singers have veins in their necks, man. And
Yes.
women love.
Yes.
Like if you're a singer. Now, if you're like Iggy Pop, you don't know why those veins are in your neck. But people that use their vocal cords
Yes.
a lot or use any part of their body, whether it's arms, legs, whatever
Right.
like that, they're going to grow veins because they got more blood
Blood, yep.
infused into this thing.